Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to episode 155 of NerdPod Generations. As always, I am one of your illustrious hosts, Steve Taylor, along with the lovely Al Judson. Hello, sir.
Hello, friends and enemies.
So I want to give a quick shout-out, not a shout-out, more of an informational shout-out to our listeners. If I cough during this...
He's terribly ill. Send your prayers, send your thoughts.
No, money.
Oh, money. The
GoFund. Prayers and thoughts.
The GoFund Steve.
Yes. I am actually not sick. When I get allergies, it gives me kind of like an asthma, and the more I talk, the more I cough sometimes. I do have water to kind of curtail that. I feel fine.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly fine.
So there might be some coughs. I, as the editor, promise, and I, as the producer, promise that I, the editor, will take out as many coughs as possible.
Well, I will aim to cough only when you're speaking.
Yes.
So I don't know if you want to take out that stuff.
Yeah.
That would be rude.
Well, I can take out your portion of the cough.
Well, that's true. That's true.
But there might just be moments where Steve sounds like... and as he's coming back in.
Pretty much.
So just be aware.
I'm taken aback by the awesomeness of what you just said.
I know.
And that's what that deep sigh is.
I know.
So, folks, NerdPod Generations 155 is your first time listening to us. Please go to nerdpodgen.com. There are links to not only the podcast, there are also links to our YouTube channel where Al has put up clips of some of our older shows. And there's little informational clips for about us and other side projects that we do. Also, being 155, that means we have 154 past episodes of pure gold. That's a lot of content, so please go back and listen to them all because I think you will thoroughly enjoy it. Like most shows, we are going to start this week with what have we been watching, playing, and reading.
Do you want to gush?
I want to gush. I'm going to start with a quick gush because I've only been playing it for a short amount of time, but one of my favorite games of all time, Xenoblade Chronicles X. It was stuck on the Wii U. I played it for about 330 hours on the Wii U. Loved it. And now, since the Wii U shop is dead, my Wii U is dead, I thought it was locked. Thankfully, a few months ago, they announced it was going to be coming out on Switch, and it came out. So Xenoblade Chronicles X, I believe it's called the Definitive Edition. It's just as good as I remembered. They did some quality of life improvements. It's amazing how Nintendo is so magical. The Wii U version, I believe, was like 23, 24 gigs. This one is like 13 and a half gigs, and they've made improvements. I don't know how that's possible, but they did it, and it's amazing. For those of you who have never played the game, Xenoblade Chronicles, the 1, 2, and 3, it actually doesn't have anything to do with those games. It's kind of a spin-off. It's a very insanely large open world exploration type game. The storyline isn't the best storyline ever. It does, I believe, have a really good payoff at the end. But pretty much the whole story is you running around this massive world. And the crazy part is, it was on the Wii U and it was also on the Switch. There are no load times when you're in the big world.
That's
so
impressive.
You can go from... And they're different environments. Like there's a big open like plains, there's a desert environment, there's a jungle environment, there's a snow environment. Going from environment to environment, no load times. You just go right into the environment. And it's kind of amazing. And the game itself, you're pretty much traveling, fighting monsters. It's for those of you, this is the thing that is similar to Xenoblade Chronicles. When you're running around, all the monsters have their level in a red bubble above their head. And you know which ones to stay away from.
Yeah.
And what's cool about it is the monsters that are passive, it's like a gray bubble above their head. And as long as you don't mess with them, they will not mess with you. If they have a red bubble above their head, that means they may attack you unprovoked.
Yeah.
So try to stay away from them. But you play the game for about 20 hours, and then you get these mech suits called skells. And the cool thing about not only your character, but also the mechs, when you upgrade them with new armors and weapons, they appear on your character.
That's so
unlike
huge.
a lot of RPGs where they just don't.
Yeah.
And the mechs, then, you can just trick them out like crazy. And then each mech, you get different levels, and as the level raises, you get different looking mechs. Like I had one that looked like Spider-Man almost, and then I had one that looked like a tank, and awesome things. So they not only are robots that can transform into vehicles, but they can also fly. So it's like traversing the landscape. It's kind of like Zelda, where if you can see a spot, you can go to that spot.
Yeah.
You can't necessarily climb, but you got to find ways up the mountains. But then when you have the skells, you can just fly to the top of wherever you want.
Yeah.
And it's such a fun game. Highly recommend it. It is a little talky at first. The prologue can get a little, I'd say I'm not joking, first hour.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talkiness.
Yep.
But it's such an intricate game that the talkiness is kind of explaining all the systems.
Yeah.
Which there are a lot of systems.
I mean, that was one of my feelings about Tears of the Kingdom. I was like, man, this tutorial is long.
Oh, this makes Tears of the Kingdom look like there's no tutorial.
Yeah. So it's like that can make or break a game. I get it. Where it's just like, man, I'm still in the tutorial.
Yeah.
Oh my god, when do I get to play the actual game?
Well, and that's the thing. Once you get past the tutorial and you're let loose on the world, there's no limits.
Yeah.
Like you truly, like one of the cool things is, so it's these two alien races got into this huge war above Earth, and we knew the war was coming. And the war destroyed our planet, like literally blew up our planet because they were too superpower. And we sent out these arcs. And the one that you are on that survived is called the White Whale. And it crash lands onto this planet, Mira. And so you reside in this massive circular arc that they call New Los Angeles. And then once you go out into the world, you need to set up these mining hubs where it either mines for ore. God, I'm trying to remember. It's been so long. I haven't set up a new mining yet, but it's been a while. But you set up these different mining hubs, and the thing is like when you want to upgrade your skills, they get expensive. So you can change what you're mining for. And so you're like, I really want to upgrade the skill, but I need so much money. I'm going to change them all to mining like gold. And then you can just try to mine. And the trick that I used with the Wii U, and I'm assuming is the same with this, when you're setting up, it runs on a day-night cycle, and I think the day-night cycle lasts 40 minutes.
Okay.
And each day, it resets your money, and it gives you what you made that day from your different mining operations. So I would just set the Wii U down and leave it running for like 8 hours.
Yeah.
And it would just go boop, 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 and I wouldn't even play the game.
Yeah.
And I would come back, and I would have
all your
thousands of dollars. Exactly. So that's a cool thing. That's a cool thing to do. But I love it. I'm super psyched about it. I'm going to get off of that because I really want to dive into something that I don't want you to watch. And for those of you listening, I really don't want you to watch this movie. It's called Electric State. It's on Netflix.
I've heard something about it. Been kind of in the ether the last few days.
Yeah. It's on Netflix. It is directed by the Russo brothers. It stars Millie Bobby Brown and Chris Pratt. But the voice actor, it's Stanley Tucci plays a character in real life. Voice actors, though, we're talking Woody Harrelson. Anthony Mackie plays Chris Pratt's sidekick. So you have the Falcon and Star-Lord. And it's just, the voice list is just crazy. Like, they got all these big celebrities. They got Gronk to be a voice of a robot football player. So for those of you who don't know, it takes place in the 90s.
Yeah.
And what happened was back when Walt Disney opened up Disney World, he created robots to help with the theme parks. And so the robots kind of look like, do you know the game Cuphead?
Oh, yeah.
So the robots look like characters from like Cuphead.
Yeah, the rubber band era.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very much like that. And there was a robot uprisal in like the 70s and 80s.
Led by Mr. Peanut.
Because the robots wanted to have lives of their own, but they were used as slave labor pretty much. And so the only way to stop this war, because the robots were winning, because the robots, Stanley Tucci's character creates these robots that I swear to God, that he watched Iron Man 3 and saw Vanko's drones and said, that's what I want to make as my robot. Because they look exactly like Vanko's drones.
Yeah.
And then these drones, which are run by humans, stop the robots because they're far more advanced. The robots get put into the desert in this like wasteland that they're just held off by a wall. They can't get. It's like a no man's zone. Instead of destroying them, they threw them all into this area. And we get to this point where it's modern time in the 90s. It looks like the 90s. Except for Stanley Tucci looks like a supervillain from a movie from like 2040. And all the technology around him looks like from the 2040.
Yeah.
Except for the real world, which looks normal. And then you have the robots. This movie costs $350 million to make.
Yeah.
It is some of the worst acting. Listen, Millie Bobby Brown, I really enjoyed her in Enola Holmes. I really enjoyed her in Stranger Things. She has not done well since then, and her acting is horrible in this movie. Like, Chris Pratt is quite literally Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
It's Star-Lord with a bad beard and long hair.
And terrible wig.
And terrible wig. Terrible wig. Stanley Tucci is chewing the scenery. He's just a terrible...
That's what he does when he's bored in a movie, and he's like, I mean, this movie's trash.
Yeah.
I'm just going to ham it up.
But he's quite literally the bad guy in Ready Player One.
The whole movie is Ready Player One.
It kind of is because it's a virtual... But what's stupid is when you're running the robot, you put on this mask that it just looks dumb. And it projects your face on a little screen on the drone robot.
So you look like one of those Wii...
Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah. It's stupid. So the whole basis of the story is her brother, back in the 90s, is this... He has the brain of like a supercomputer. He's smarter than Einstein, super genius. Her whole family gets in a car accident that you see off screen, and it's in like a 1-second flashback. So you have no idea what's going on. If they didn't tell you they were in a car crash, you would have no idea what's going on. Mm-hmm. She thinks her whole family's dead. She's being raised by Jason Alexander as her very verbally and physically abusive foster father.
Okay.
Which because you don't see him at first, you just hear him because he's in his drone. But then when he takes the helmet off, you're like, is that fucking Jason Alexander? I can't believe this. It's nuts. Come to find out, her brother survived the crash, but Stanley Tucci knew of his intelligence. And so he is plugged in, and the whole drone program only works because they use his brain to run the program. And so he's kept alive in stasis, and somehow he gets his consciousness, was able to get out of this computer system and into the body of a robot that he was always fans of the cartoon. And the robot comes and finds her. She realizes it's her brother because, like Bumblebee, he can't speak. He can only speak in catchphrases of this character. And I would say spoiler, but I don't want you to watch this movie, so I want you to understand how bad this is. So their thing is like the wizard. They're on an adventure to go find Ki Kwan, whose scientist character is the one that created this whole thing, but then, of course, felt bad for creating it because of what it's done to this child, and so he gets exiled into the robot wasteland. So they have to go find him. He's honestly probably the best part of the movie. He's in it like 3 minutes.
I heard he was mostly just an info dump.
He really was, but he actually, like, he was the best acting. Like, he looks like he was acting. The worst one, and this hurts my heart, Giancarlo Esposito plays this former colonel who they keep referring back to him being like the butcher of this one battle where he killed a lot of robots, and now he's like for hire to hunt people, and they gave him this awful like southern accent, and when the first time he talked, I was like, is that real? That can't be real.
That can't be what
That can't be his actual speaking voice in this movie. And since you mainly only see him on that little screen because it's his drone hunting, the only things he ever does, like him as the actor, is taking the helmet off or putting the helmet on with like a dramatic deep sigh or a look, and then he just is gone, and then all you hear is that awful accent. And I was like, I don't know what I'm watching. And it just, of course, there's a big battle at the end, and then the brother sacrifices himself because he says to the sister, the only way to stop these drones is if you just let me die, because the machine keep him alive. So he dies. But then, post-credit scene.
He's not dead.
His robot that he was controlling, you see its shadow sit up. And you're like, oh, fuck, I've read that coming a mile away. This movie sucked.
Yeah.
Like, the Russos, since Endgame, have made dog shit.
Yeah.
Because they made The Gray Man, right? The one with Gosling. I mean, terrible movies.
Yeah, no.
And this is horrible. 300. This is, like, if you wanted to write a film class, and in it, like, say this class is in the future, the epitome of what was wrong with film into the mid 2000s to like the 2020s. This movie is that example. $350 million for subpar, and they did a Forrest Gump like thing with Bill Clinton. There's one press clipping, a video one of him shaking hands with Stanley Tucci. The worst I've ever seen, because it looked like they took his head from an event and put it onto a body, but they didn't take care of the line on the neck for the head. So he's shaking and he quite literally looked like a bobblehead.
Oh my God.
And I was like, what am I watching for $350 million? And Chris Pratt was terrible as always, and everyone was terrible. Anthony Mackie, I enjoyed his character's voice work. Took me a while to realize that's who it was. But I knew he was in the movie, and I'm like, he's got to be that character, because it's the most voice work done, is that character.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was so laughably bad, and it's up there with like all the Zack Snyder, the Army of the Dead, and what's that stupid sci-fi one he made the two parts of? Rebel
Jupiter,
Moon.
Yes,
Rebel Moon.
I was going to say Jupiter Rising. No,
like,
that's a different.
I'm looking at these made for Netflix movies. They're so bad, and they cost so much.
Well, so this is the whole thing with Netflix, and I've heard some very interesting ideas bandied about with what Netflix is doing to the movie industry writ large. They can never decide if they're running out of money or if they're rolling in cash.
Yeah.
They are always saying, we are so poor, we have to raise rates. Guys, we got to raise rates. You know we don't want to, but we got to raise rates. And we got to cut down on sharing because we got to raise rates because we're so poor.
Yeah.
And then they spend $350 million on this.
Dude.
So are you poor, or do you have a lot of money to spend? Because it seems like you got a property that's pretty new, had a small fan base.
It's based on a book, right?
It's based on, I think, a book, graphic novel, something like that.
Something like that.
I've heard people talk about, like, oh, this will be interesting, whatever. I can't imagine this movie doing well. Like, how would this movie be?
No, this would have been, quite possibly, if it was released in theaters, the biggest box office bust in history.
Yeah.
For $350 million, if this thing made $100 million, it would have been a miracle.
Well, the thing that I keep hearing about it is that it's boring, which is not what you want your action movies to be. You don't want them to be boring.
Nope.
You don't want your sci-fi movies to be boring, but if they are, it's usually because there's a message and you have to get through it. I love some sci-fi movies like that. Annihilation is one of those movies where it's just like, this is kind of tough to get through, but also fascinating. So I've heard it's boring, but I've also heard that it seems to have been made with the intent of playing in the background. Like, it's not a movie that you sit down and watch. It's a movie that you turn on while you're going to go around and do other things in the house. And that it almost seems like Netflix made it with that intention in mind.
I wonder if they did.
Like, and that's such a dark idea. Because the idea that you could spend $350 million on this movie with the intent of it not being something that you watch, but something rather that you just kind of have in the background that you look up and see every once in a while. And that's it working as intended?
Yeah.
What does that mean for the future?
Honestly, with Netflix, they're, taking out Castlevania, that's an anomaly. They're made for, like, live-action content. The only stuff that actually I think is good is when they do, like, your docuseries. So a lot of those are good, but it's like they don't have to come up with that content. They just need to put it on their system. The ones that they're creating are so bad. Like, I saw the trailer for Happy Gilmore 2. Mm-hmm. It looks horrible. Like, they're falling in the same cliches where the problem with, like, Zoolander 2 and Anchorman 2, they're using all of these outdated old jokes from either that movie, like they have in the trailer, the guy from The Waterboy, the assistant coach that you couldn't understand, when he, like, pinches his nipples. That's in the trailer. I'm like, dude, you can't think of anything else? But it didn't look funny at all. And so I look at Netflix and I'm like, you can't just throw... It's like them and Amazon. They're just throwing money at shit without having any kind of a creative focus.
Well, they almost seem to pride themselves on that. That's what makes me crazy. Like, you look at Amazon, especially with the last few weeks, one of the things that I really just don't get. Like, there's a lot of decisions that Bezos makes that I just don't understand. But in that line, the idea of buying what must have been a purchased section of the Oscars.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason to do this huge James Bond thing in the middle of the Oscars. So they had to buy a section of the Oscars or something.
Yeah.
There's no James Bond movie coming out.
Nope.
Aaron Taylor Johnson is no longer going to be James Bond.
Nope.
You just fired the people that have been shepherding James Bond since the 60s.
Yep.
And now is the time you want to call attention to James Bond? Why?
Well, they're going to ruin it because they're going to make series.
But this is what I'm saying. They seem proud of that. They seem to be like, okay, so now we are in charge of James Bond. All the people that have run James Bond beforehand, they're all gone. We finally got rid of those old fogies. We're in charge now, and we're going to make the best James Bond with a group of people who are more interested in making a Moneypenny show and a M prequel show and a Blofeld spin-off show. That's what they want to do. They want to They want to milk it.
Yeah.
They see a cash cow and they want to milk it.
Yep.
They don't care about how good it is because they know that as long as they push this out, they can put it in all their advertisements and say, get Amazon Prime. It's where James Bond lives and Rings of Power.
Which, I'm glad you brought that up. I am dumping Amazon Prime. We're going to dump it next month because our Prime membership's up. Mainly because we're trying not to order from Amazon anymore. But secondly, I have not been able to finish Invincible because I made it through the last episode and there's so many commercial breaks that I was getting physically upset. Yeah. I was punching things. Like, how can you do 10 minutes of the show and then another 2-minute commercial break? 10 minutes, another 2-minute commercial break. I'm like, I'm not going to fucking watch this.
No.
So they're going to lose our business. I know that's nothing to them, but they're losing it because it's like, dude, I'm not going to pay extra to get no commercials.
No.
It's already $140 a year for Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to fucking pay extra.
No.
Nope.
No. You want more on top of that? That's not enough already? No, between them, Netflix, and Warner Brothers Discovery, otherwise known as Max.
Yeah.
They are these harbingers of doom for the future of media. That sounds dramatic, but they have an entirely different perspective of what success looks like. You know? And so success just means that people are continuing to buy the product. That is success. Whether that means making good content or not has nothing to do with it. Because even if this isn't a success, even if Electric State isn't a success, Bridgerton season 4 will be a success. So we just gotta float through the 3 weeks until the next thing drops, and then that's gonna drop, and it's gonna attract a different audience.
The sad thing is Electric State will be a success because people will watch it for free. Well, they think for free because they have Netflix. I mean, that's why all those awful Adam Sandler movies, the Ridiculous Six and QB Halloween, they were all huge hits because people were just like, well, I'll just, like me, I'm like, well, I'm not paying for it. I'll just fucking watch it.
I already paid for it.
Exactly.
You don't think about it like as a thing that you need to buy right now.
Yeah.
It's already taken care of.
But trust me, folks, you will pay for it before you watch it, and you will pay for it while you're watching it. Don't fucking watch this movie. It is bad.
No.
Bad. It's so bad that I was going to talk about Venom, The Last Dance, and Craven, but I went to this because this one cost as much as both of them combined.
Yeah.
And it's terrible.
Well, it's more than twice the cost of Wicked.
Yeah.
Wicked was $150 million.
Yep.
This was $350 million for effects that are pretty good, I hear, but not amazing throughout. And a cast which seems bored in every scene I've seen. And writing that's bad. Directing that is so muted.
Yeah.
Like the Russos, I don't know what cash cow they've been happy to hook themselves up to or why, but I do not see the artistic flair I saw in Community, in the first two Captain America movies that they did.
Yes.
Second and third Captain America movies. I even something like Welcome to Collinwood, which was one of their first early movies with William H. Macy and Sam Rockwell.
I remember that.
It's a fun little spoofy heist movie. And I like it. It's pretty good. Cherry was okay. Gray Man's not good.
No.
Electric State's not good.
No.
Endgame has significant problems.
Yes, it does. Infinity War is great. I love Infinity War. Even
Infinity
though
War
it's not
is good.
perfect, it has its
again,
issues.
it has some issues, but by and large, compared to other Marvel properties, it's way better.
It's a masterpiece.
It was way, way better than a lot of the other ones.
I agree.
But I don't see any of like what made the Russos interested in filmmaking. You know, like in their filmography, the video that ended my YouTube video making career, and I just restarted the YouTube channel as our show, but cut down into spliced sections, was I watched a bunch of Russo brother movies and was trying to understand kind of the what was going on with Gray Man, because I'd watched Gray Man and been like, this is nothing. This is boring and dumb, and I don't like it. And so I went back and I watched a bunch of movies, including You, Me, and Dupree, and Welcome to Collinwood, and Cherry. And, God, you know, there was a lot of ups and downs in there. Cherry was a lot more heartfelt than I thought it was going to be. Welcome to Collinwood was really funny and really clever. You, Me, and Dupree is as close to their current career as I've seen.
Yeah.
Where it seems like they are just taking instructions from someone else, and they're not really doing it their way. They're just sitting there and pushing, start on the camera and making sure that everybody is getting home on time at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And nobody's going over budget.
Well, and the problem with this is they're leaning on cliches big time.
Yeah.
Like, this whole movie is just one big...
Well, it has that newest cliche. Everything is a reference.
Yeah.
The newest cliche is just everything is a reference. And I, as someone who lives and breathes references, I hate it.
Yeah.
It's the one thing in a Marvel movie that makes me so mad.
And it's funny because it's been a few years now, but people have already forgotten that, once again, South Park likes calling this out with the member berries.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing now is member berries. Remember?
Well, we've gotten into this weird nebulous zone now where we don't have original content anymore.
No.
We have the same cookie-cutter content that we've had for the last 20 years, but we don't even really have that. We have a bland cookie-cutter version where they make references Family Guy style to the thing from 20 years ago that they haven't gotten over or moved on from.
Yes.
And we're just rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. And it's just, God damn it, really? This is what we're doing? We have all this technology, all this capability, so many visionary people out there that can do so many interesting things, but the studios who provide the money for these big pieces are terrible, which is why indie movies have been better, like A24. You know why A24 is good? They just make good movies.
Yeah.
It's not some secret. It's not some recipe. It's not one guy at the top making the right decisions all the time. They just make good movies. And they don't make the movies on the same budget or scale as a WB or a Sony or what have you. But oh God, they're better movies, whereas the big giants are just making the same movies that they've been making with the same name but a new number slapped on the end and references back to this thing from 20 years ago.
The thing that made me the most mad about COVID when the theaters were going downhill and everyone's like, oh, COVID's killing the theaters. It's like, no. Movies had started killing the theaters.
Yeah.
All COVID was doing was kind of helping it along.
It accelerated.
But now it's kind of bouncing back in theaters. And it's, by doing so, it's destroying. And that's the funny thing. Like, I was listening to some people talking about since the Nintendo Switch is for those of you who don't know, in a few days we're going to have a reveal of the next system, and so people have been doing a lot of reminiscing about it. And a major time was during COVID with Animal Crossing when it came out, and how people were using that game to create original content and using their imagination. And that made me feel so good when I would click on talk shows and people created talk shows or created all this. What was the John Krasinski? This wasn't Animal Crossing, but he did Best Week Today or something like that, where he did a fake YouTube news show.
I missed this.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. He did it during COVID, and he did one of the episodes. He did a reunion of all the cast members of The Office, but he would just tell these great stories about things that are happening in the world during this pandemic, and it's all this originality was so great. But then COVID's done, everyone gets back to normal, and then everyone just starts coming up with shit again. The same crap.
Yeah,
and it's fucking sad. It's so sad.
No, it makes me crazy because Nintendo themselves are guilty of this too. Nintendo had Animal Crossing. They could have poured resources into it for years.
Yep.
They got a year content done and they were like, that's enough. We don't need to do anything else with this game that has huge followings and it has a ton of word online. And if we just kept feeding that machine, people would stick around. But because people are leaving, we're like, we're not going to work on this. But we can see that there's a cash cow here, so we will keep on working on the mobile game where you can buy all the stuff that you want. And it's just like, dude, I think you just got to not do it, man. I think you got to just stick it out.
Yeah.
It's like studios that are like, oh, animation is so slow and so expensive. Okay. And stick it out.
It's super
Get
quality.
It done. Get it done.
Yeah.
I don't care. Oh, this game is taking forever to get done. Okay. And what? I don't care. Get it done.
That's why I give a lot of credit to companies like Rockstar. It's like, we're going to put out a game once every 8 years, but it's going to make so much fucking money that we're going to give all our employees really good salaries and say, take as long as you need to make the next one, and it will be the best thing ever, and it will sell billions of I think Grand Theft Auto 5 is in the hundreds of millions of copies sold.
Oh, at least.
More than that. Maybe
minimum.
even a billion.
Yeah.
I believe it is.
I think it crossed $1 billion.
I believe it is the number one selling media thing ever.
Yeah.
Movies, TV, and whatnot.
I've bought at least 2 copies.
Yeah, I think I've gotten a couple copies. And it's like, more people need to follow that, but of course it's always shareholders need more money. We need to keep pushing out content, even though it's bad.
Well, you have that Netflix. We're so poor. We're so poor. We're so poor. Please give us more money. We're so poor. Discovery. Oh, we got to just sell off assets for tax write-offs because we don't believe that they're going to be good. So instead of having this thing come out on a streaming platform or selling it to someone else or anything, we're just going to write it off for tax purposes, which means we need to destroy it in a fire so no one watches it.
Yes. That you nailed it pretty well right there.
Dude, that fucking sucks.
Yes.
And this is you keep doing this. People keep on saying, oh, this looks interesting. This looks interesting. I think they just got rid of 1, maybe 2 Looney Tunes movies that they were going to come out with.
Yeah, one released. One new one just
finally
came out,
released, but it was close to getting thrown in the fire. And they have one that is a Wile E. Coyote versus Acme courtroom drama, which I think that sounds hilarious.
Oh, yeah, that's the one that won't ever come out.
And it's never coming out because they threw it in the fire. Why? Give it a chance, Batgirl. Oh, this could be interesting. This could be interesting. Throw it in the fire. Why? Give it a chance, man. You don't have to give it a huge chance, but this is why you have a streaming platform.
Yeah, exactly.
Which you are stripping like a transient in a house with copper wire. Just pulling it all out while he's there. And that, I mean, like, so much of the DC stuff has been gutted off of Max.
Oh, horrible.
For no reason.
Yeah.
Who else is going to run this? I know that they sold Justice League and Justice League Unlimited to Netflix and all that. I don't care. This should be your thing. You should be focused on this being your thing because that's what I would want. That's what I would be buying when I come to you. And if your thing is going to become announcing projects and then throwing them in the fire for tax purposes and cutting the stuff that I do want but producing a ton of stuff I don't care about, then I'm not going to give you my money.
Well, they don't see the value in what they have, especially the animated side, once again, because it's underrated.
Well, it's expensive, and it takes too long.
Yeah.
And so in their minds, they're like, this is a losing investment.
But that's like, I don't know if I buy that, because they crank out some of these animated movies pretty quickly. I mean, their animation studio can't be that gigantic.
The thing. They don't need it to be true. They just need an excuse.
Well, that's true.
You know, like, they don't need this to be a rational thing to say. They just need to say, this is why we're doing it.
Yeah.
And everybody can have their own opinion afterwards, but ultimately they don't care because they already got your money and they're already on to the next thing.
That's true.
And they're already pretending like it doesn't matter because they know if they just wait 3 days, nobody's going to remember that thing happened.
Yeah. And they have someone to blame, Zack Snyder, which I know I'm not standing up for him, but a lot of the mistakes that happened weren't necessarily his fault 100%. But he got 100% of the blame.
Well, it was I blame just the general heads of WB for not finding a voice before they started this whole thing. Like, they were like,
a la Star Wars sequels.
They were like, oh, Zack Snyder wants to make a Man of Steel movie. Okay, whatever. He just did Watchmen. That was good. And Sucker Punch, which wasn't good, but whatever. Give him a Man of Steel movie. Superman hasn't been around in a while. It's kind of passé. And Superman Returns was such a bomb. I mean, what's going to happen? Oh, we're going to make a dark Superman. Okay, and people have feelings about it. Okay, it does moderately well, and we're going to roll that into Batman versus Superman. No. Hang on. This is a bad idea.
Yeah.
This is a tremendously bad idea. Don't do this. Okay, and now that I'm 10 years out from that whole fiasco, let me tell you straight up, not a good idea.
No, especially when you find out it wasn't just Batman versus Superman, it was Batman versus Superman / Doomsday.
Yeah.
It's like you're going to take The Dark Knight Returns plus Doomsday and smash them together and be like, here you go.
I know you don't have faith, but you should do your Wonder Woman movie before Batman versus Superman.
Yes.
And you should do your Aquaman movie before Batman versus Superman. In fact, Batman versus Superman should be your Justice League movie. Because that would be interesting. The Justice League is formed because Batman and Superman are fighting and they have to put their differences aside and come together and form the Justice League. Okay, I've seen Justice Leagues formed under dumber pretenses than this. But instead, you're like, no, we need it now. Bam! Push the button. Flash is saving people in convenience stores, and Cyborg is being created on a little window on a computer screen.
And that's another thing. And I know this is just a gigantic tangent to end my half of Watch, Play, Read. If you have a successful character, because the actor, next time you're gonna put that character in a movie, maybe give Grant Guster a screen test.
Maybe just
because his Flash, even though the show kind of jumped the shark, his Flash and Barry Allen were so good.
I still argue the first 5 seasons. Some people say 4. I would say the first 5 seasons of that show are still pretty good.
Yeah.
I think that they are still 70-80%ers where, like, the vast majority of it is good. Is there some stuff you have to get over? Yes, but it's comic book stuff. Come on.
But once again, you take even the people that crap on that, you take that one performance and that one actor out, and that's what the Flash should have been.
Yeah.
Not Ezra Miller. It should never have been Ezra Miller.
It's a Flash that already travels between dimensions.
Yeah.
Like, you literally don't have to do anything. It's already set for you.
This guy appeared out of nowhere. I wonder why.
He doesn't know why. He doesn't know where he is. Hell, you could bring in like a Dr. Fate or the Lords of Order or something where they're like, okay, so this universe is going to collapse and we can't have it collapse into chaos because that's going to change the power dynamic between order and chaos on a cosmic interdimensional level. So we need to take this Barry Allen and put him here because he is going to be the source that draws all of these Justice Leaguers together and he'll form it there, and then he'll come back to the TV show and be like, I had this incredible journey. I'm going to form the Justice League here too because it was a good idea there. It's a good idea here. Let's do it. But we can't have nice things.
No, can't have nice things. Well, that's so the moral of the story is do not watch Electric State. No. It is poo-poo caca.
Getting back to Netflix.
So what about you, sir? How have you been?
I've been bopping around on a ton of stuff. Kelly's cousin Steve, not you, but a different Steve, came over and we watched 2 things off YouTube that I would recommend.
Okay.
So one is Hell of a Boss, which is an animated, I think like 10, 15, 20 minute long episodes. And it's just
very adult.
It's extremely adult.
Okay.
The concept is a group of demons in hell run a business where if you die, you can come to them and hire them to kill people for you on Earth.
Oh.
So that's the premise of the show.
So like a very satanic Beetlejuice.
Kinda, yeah. It has elements of that in it. And it's just these 4 weirdos running this business.
It was hell of a boss?
Hell of a boss.
Okay.
So that was really interesting. And then the other one that we watched was Epic the Musical, which is the Odyssey. It's I guess the music came first.
Yeah.
And then someone animated the entire thing. Well, not someone, a group of someone's animated the entire thing. So it's like 2 hours long. It's really good.
Interesting.
It's really, really good. There were some moments where I was like, I don't know if I agree with this as a telling of the Odyssey, but it's nothing breaks the line. The biggest thing was that they have a song about, with all these people in the middle of war. You have the one guy who's like, no, we should go out and be kind and open-hearted and live life with open arms. But he's singing it as they're meeting the Lotus Eaters. And I'm like, I feel like this is a weird thing to mirror. Where you have this guy saying, like, go out and love. And you have the Lotus Eaters who are just about forgetting everything all the time.
So you don't think Christopher Nolan's going to put that in his telling of the Odyssey?
I think the Lotus Eaters will be. I don't know about the song.
Singing. You don't like the song?
But it was really good, and I always have to plug animation anytime it comes up.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's really well done, especially for something that was just crowdsourced by a group of artists that just all wanted to work on something. So huge kudos to those 2 projects. That they are very fun. They're very good. I wanted to bring up Brother Bear only to say that I had never seen it.
Oh, it's a good movie.
It's a good movie.
It's a sad fucking movie.
It's a good movie. I really like it. Yeah. I like a Disney movie that starts with a lot of death and then continues to talk about death throughout the entire thing.
Yeah.
That's a really good movie. There were some elements of it that I was like, I don't know how I feel about this, and this kind of breaks for me. None of that has anything to do with anything, though. We're going to skip over all that because ultimately it's still a 8.5, 9. I would give it a 9. I'll give it a 9. I'll give it a 9 out of 10.
Another solid Disney Phil Collins song in it too.
Yeah, it turns into Tarzan for like a hot second.
Yeah, exactly.
Disney hasn't put it in HD on Disney Plus.
Really?
It's still in SD. It's still in standard definition on Disney Plus. It comes in a giant box where it's just the very middle of the screen is the movie, and then there's just a big black box. And it's just like, again, you have all this money and all this resource and the capability to make something better as a selling point for the service. Why is this not in HD?
Yeah.
I can't fathom why this wouldn't be in HD. It's insane to me.
That is nuts.
Like, I get it. You're hiding a lot of this early 2000s stuff because it's a mixed bag. Some of it's good, some of it's really bad. I get it. Barnyard, not a good movie. Bolt, bad movie. I get it. Chicken Little, not good.
No.
But there is some good here that we should be elevating and bringing back to the forefront and introducing a new generation to who won't ask, why does it look like that, Daddy?
Yeah.
Why does the TV look like that? Is it broken? What's wrong with the TV? Nothing's wrong. Disney is stupid and cheap, and I don't know why. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say about that. I did like it quite a bit. It was very good. I did want to name drop 2 things. One, we watched the 82 version of Annie.
Okay.
Which has Tim Curry, Bernadette Peters, Carol Burnett,
yep.
Albert Brooks. Not Albert Brooks, Albert Finney.
That's the first one I saw.
Yeah. I hadn't seen it. I thought I had, but I had it. It's a great rendition. Very, very enjoyable. You definitely have a lot of moments of like, this is not something that we can include in adaptations moving forward, is it?
Yeah.
I'm looking at you, Punjab.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was during the Johnny Quest days, so I mean, come on now.
But I did want to call out that Tim Curry is fucking amazing.
Oh, Tim Curry's great.
Like Carol Burnett's amazing, and Bernadette Peters is good, if underutilized, I think, just because she has a small role. Albert Finney, I don't know, is very good. He kind of comes off like
he's all right.
he comes off like George C. Scott in his version of A Christmas Carol, where you get to the end and you're like, does he love this kid? I guess so. I mean, he says he does, and if he says he does, I have to believe him.
He's always the character from Aaron Brockovich, where you're like, is he mean? Is he nice?
Yeah.
I can't quite tell.
I can't get a read on this guy, but it is a really charming, really fun movie. Yeah. So the only other thing I wanted to drop was Future Boy Conan. Now, this is something that no one's going to know what this is. Future Boy Conan, for anybody who loves Miyazaki, is Miyazaki before Miyazaki.
Okay.
This is his show that he made before Nausicaa, before Castle Cagliostro.
When did it come out?
1978.
Oh my God.
So it's just been released on digital.
Okay.
And it is one of my favorite animes of all time.
Really?
So you take Castle in the Sky and Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, and you put them in a cocktail shaker, and you spin them around, and you get Future Boy Conan. It's so good. I love this show so much.
So does it have anything to do with Conan the Barbarian?
No.
Okay. Because when you say Conan, I'm like...
Yeah.
Okay.
And it doesn't have anything to do with Conan O'Brien.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. None of the famous Conans.
He doesn't do the string dance ever?
It doesn't have anything to do with Conan the Barbarian or Conan the Librarian.
Okay.
It is solely about a little indestructible boy with toes that can hold on to anything.
Oh, interesting.
And I love him. Conan is, if you've seen Castle in the Sky, Conan is Pazu. He is this indestructible kid that keeps getting into situations where you're like, he should be dead. He should be dead. And he's just fine. He's just totally fine. So and I love him. The animation is a little chintzy at times.
Okay.
All the characters look cross-eyed because of the era in which it was animated.
Oh.
Because they basically just have all of their eyes right on the sides of their nose.
Okay.
But it's absolutely delightful. I love this show so much.
So is it on digital purchase or is it...
It's available for digital purchase. I haven't found it on any streaming services yet, but hopefully it will. I found it on Vudu last week, and I was like, oh, I'm buying this today.
Okay.
I love this show. It's really good. It's really fun. And it's Miyazaki. You can't go wrong with Miyazaki.
No.
Even a bad Miyazaki is still 10 times better than anything else of the same era. So,
nice.
Yeah, that was
very nice. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so now we need to do a quick little brief touch on Daredevil. Now, since I was sick last week, I have not watched episode 4, but we did watch episode 3.
Yes.
So we got to talk about episode 3 of Daredevil. This one completely evolves around White Tiger. Mainly, you get a little backstory of his origin, but then you also see it's mainly a courtroom drama.
You get a flavor of his...
Yeah, very little.
Like, this is the thing that I go back and forth on with this show. Is I'm glad that they include the superhero stuff.
Yes.
That's really important to me. And I won't bring up the exact circumstances, but the Skrulls are name dropped in episode 4. And I'm like, this is getting closer.
Okay.
We're finally getting close. I like that they have this whole back and forth between the judge and the 2 lawyers, including Murdoch, about whether him having his amulet is important. And it sounds ridiculous, but it is inherently important to what's going on. I love that. I love all of these elements, but you don't land the plane.
Yeah.
You just give me this it's almost like a waft.
Yeah.
You know, it's like scientists who are trying to smell something. It's like, oh, I can't put my face directly over this boiling acid, so I better waft it towards me. That's Marvel's approach. It's just like, hey, this is a nerdy thing. You smell the nerd. It has this nice back end of nerd when you're not listening to when you don't taste the leather and the steel and the blood. It has a nerdy after flavor, but it's not offensive. It's not offensive. And I'm like, no, but that should be the whole thing.
Yeah.
Can we agree that should be the whole thing?
And spoilers on this, folks. Spoilers. The only time you really see him in his costume with his medallion, he gets shot in the head.
Yeah.
And so you don't even get to see him do anything.
No. We see him on closed circuit TVs, and that's it.
But even on that, it's very it's mainly after the fight, or
it's him knocking over people or kicking a person, and then that's it. That's all you see.
You're like, okay, he could be
okay, cool. We're not going to talk about his speed, his strength, all the things that the White Tiger can do. None of those things. No. Where does he get his costume? Who makes his costume? Does he make it himself? None of this is going to come up because while I can appreciate a courtroom drama, and I do like a courtroom drama, and it's, I love A Few Good Men, and there's some real good ones out there, and this is a good courtroom drama, man, I would really like there to be superheroes in this superhero show.
Yeah.
It'd be really cool if there were superheroes in this superhero show. And doesn't this sound like every other Marvel show we've reviewed?
Yes.
Wouldn't it be cool if there were superheroes in this superhero
and it makes
show?
You wonder what the budget is on these shows that they're not showing superheroes.
Yeah.
They're not. I mean, we all saw how awful the CG was on She-Hulk. So it's like, I want to know what these budgets are. Like, why are you making these shows, which are typically $250 to $300 million budgeted movies, and doing them chintzy? Now, I understand they might be saying, oh, well, we want to make it more like Daredevil. Well, you already put it in the universe where you have these superheroes in it.
Well, and like they don't want to still over 10 years later, we are still having this argument of, is this the MCU or is this something else?
Yes.
And it makes me crazy. The fact that we had all of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and 5 Netflix shows. Six Netflix shows.
Oh, yeah.
And it's impossible to tell if any of them take place in the MCU. Because they refer to the Battle of New York as the incident.
Yep.
So is it, or is it not? Because no one would refer to the Battle of New York as the incident.
Yeah.
But they also don't talk about the snap. But no one talks about the snap.
No one talks about the snap
so
anymore.
That's par for the course. No. Like, I realized today how desperate I am for context in this show. The little asides that they do with BB where she's recording. I would take a little thing in the corner that says what day it is when they're recording these testimonials.
Yes!
I would take that. That would be something.
Yeah.
If I looked down and it said, 3/21/32, that's something.
Yeah.
I can take that and run. I can do something with that. But you're giving me nothing.
I think that's their out. They can say, oh, well, it's not this year. Like, they can, if something goes bad, they can use that as an excuse.
That happened this time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, no, well, it wasn't that time.
That was before this.
Yes.
Well, on your Disney Plus timeline, it says that the events of this are... No. That was before. And now this is the this.
Yes. And now, I'm not going to use the term demasculate because I don't want to sound like a right-wing asshole or Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
This is going to sound even worse. The problem I'm having is they have quite literally clipped Kingpin.
Oh.
He is not the Kingpin anymore.
No.
He is not the kind of person that uses photos of someone's family to get them to do something.
While he's eating a disgusting sandwich
that he doesn't like. That is not the fucking Kingpin. That is not the character from the first 3 seasons.
No.
Alone the character from the comic book.
No.
And just looking at him, it's like, what have you done? He just, once again, he looks smaller. He looks weaker. It's like, that's not the Kingpin.
And also, like, if you're going to make the Kingpin a central figure, like you did in seasons 1 and 3.
Yes.
That's fine. I'm totally okay with that. You have to develop the character in some way. The development can't be, okay, so we are going to stunt Kingpin's growth back to when he was 13.
Yes.
And he has just killed his dad, and he doesn't know who he is yet. No. I know who Wilson Fisk is. I know who he is in this universe, whether it's part of the MCU or not. I know who he is in a ton of universes. And let me tell you right now, this ain't it.
No.
When the giant brick wall version of Wilson Fisk from Into the Spider-Verse...
Yes.
is 1,000,000 times more accurate when he's walking and clicking a pen and humming the Spider-Man song. Uh-huh. And you're like, this is still 1,000,000 times better. Yep. He doesn't have the intimidation factor or anything that I'm used to seeing with Fisk. He's a cartoon character literally and in a lot of ways metaphorically. This is still 1,000,000 times better than what we get here. Because here... I don't want to see him in therapy.
No!
Man, I don't want to see him in therapy. Why are we seeing so much? Spoilers for episode 4. There's a lot of therapy.
Oh, no.
Why are we seeing so much therapy? To the point where there were multiple moments where me and Kelly, while watching episode 4, looked at each other like, why is this still happening?
Yeah.
Why haven't we moved on from this? I told Kelly I would rather have there just be 5 minutes of a dumpster. Like they just left the camera on a dumpster and walked away
sounds like what
and forgot to edit it out. I would rather have that.
It seems like they left it on a dumpster fire and never edited it out.
So it's like, for any moment, that's good, because the stuff with Charlie Cox, he's so damn good. He's so damn good in this show. There's some moments that I won't bring up, but as I watch the show, he is the only thing about this show that I'm like, this is really fucking good. Every time we go back to the Kingpin, it is a dramatic, substantial step down, and that gets worse every episode, to the point where it literally will cost this episode 4, the parts of episode 4 that revolve around the Kingpin will cost the show a full letter grade in my book.
Yes. By
the end of the season. It doesn't matter what happens from here. You have already lost a full letter grade because of some of the decisions you've made on Kingpin's story. It is a tragedy at times.
Yes.
And it's just, for as many moments as we should get, where like at the end of the episode, where he's like, this has been a miscarriage of justice and Hector Ayala should be killed, and we need to make sure that everybody understands that you cannot have vigilantes in this city. There he is. That's the Kingpin. There he is. That's the Kingpin preening for cameras to keep a face. But every scene with his little posse is so bad.
It's so bad.
And I hate James Gandolfini's son, and I don't know why he's here, and I don't know why anybody likes him. We're going to get back to this in episode 4, too.
Oh, God.
I'm just baffled by a lot of the Kingpin-shaped decisions in the show, because it just leaves you with nothing, and it doesn't bring anything interesting to the show, but it takes a ton away from what the show had previously established. So I don't understand this.
And once again, it seems like they just are trying to write him in a way to make him more modern and how he should be. But there's a way to do that while keeping his character the way it should be. Well, so there's other ways to do it. This is like the easy way to do it.
Well, so you do what they've done for Wilson Fisk literally since the 60s.
Yeah.
Okay? A little bit of an education time. My first Spider-Man experience was in 1994, and it was watching an episode of Spider-Man the Animated Series, where the Hobgoblin is trying to kill Wilson Fisk, and Peter, as Peter, saves him.
Yeah.
Saves Wilson Fisk from dying. And then other stuff happens. Wilson Fisk, for the entire rest of that show, even once Peter realizes he's Kingpin, is so good at keeping the face. Keeping the face of decorum, of just being a businessman. He's not intimidating. He's gregarious. He seems really friendly. He seems really approachable. But then when you go behind the door, then it comes down like a fucking machete. You know, when he's talking to his business partners, the people that know that he has this darkness to him, you can see that mask sliding, but it adds an element to the character. We get none of this. We get Wilson Fisk acting like a third grader, asking for permission to do things.
Yeah.
And then going to therapy.
Yeah.
And then having one moment where we get a glimpse of him being Kingpin. And then it's buried under a fucking cheesesteak sandwich. Why are,
it's so bad.
The stuff in court is good. I would love to argue about having this whole reveal where Matt decides to reveal Ayala's identity as White Tiger
to win the case.
And what's Matt going to do? Because there's police officers that suspect that he's not actually blind, so he has to like ultra play this up, and you have to deal with whether the cops are the Punisher or what's going on with this.
So weird.
And we just keep getting pulled into this garbage with Kingpin. And it's always bad, and it's always disappointing. And you're always left being like, how did you have a team of people write the show, and this was where you got to? This was the conclusion that you got to for this character, for this episode, for anything, for this scene. Like, we can break it down to just the dialogue that they write for Kingpin. It's all bad.
It's terrible.
I can't blame Vincent D'Onofrio for anything outside of he's not big enough. He needed to put on weight. If you're going to play the role, play the fucking role. Because there's nothing about being small that is inherent to being the mayor of New York.
Well, and I've watched some of the older clips from the older shows, and it wasn't even necessarily that he put on weight. It's how they shot him.
Yeah.
They kind of shot him in a way like Tom Cruise gets shot in all of his movies
I
because
would
he's so
have
short.
them put lifts in his clothes to make him bigger.
Exactly.
Like, I would do that. That's fine. But you gotta give me something. You're giving me nothing, and then you make him look like a shell of who he used to be. And then you have one moment where you're like, oh, I guess he is the Kingpin still. And then we're back to this nonsense. Like, give me... You can do cool things.
Yeah.
When he goes and he finds the hole in the highway, I kind of love this scene.
Yes, where he gets out and yells to fix it.
And he yells to people to fix it, and he's like, I'm going to forget the red tape, just fix the hole.
Mm.
Would it have killed you to have someone make an aside about a weirdo with 8 arms who attacked Spider-Man on the freeway yesterday?
I see what you're saying.
Would that kill you? Would that actually kill you to do that? No, it wouldn't. You should be doing it. You should be doing it all the time. Because it helps all of us feel included in this thing, instead of feeling like this weird, like, does what I know and what I bring in matter anymore? Or does it not matter and we're just going fully in a different direction? Because there seems like a lot of moments where we're just going fully in a different direction. So it doesn't matter how good Charlie Cox is or how good the writing in the Daredevil scenes are. Everything else just kind of collapses as a result.
When one of your two main characters is just written so poorly, it's tough to...
No. We spend
that
so
whole
much time.
storyline.
We spend so much time with Wilson Fisk, and it all sucks.
Yeah.
It all sucks, and it doesn't feel right. There was a moment where, in episode 4, where he brings out a model. And I was like, what is happening?
What?
What's going on? Why is this a
Making
thing?
me not want to watch the 4th episode.
It's wild, because the stuff with Murdoch is great. And there's some really good world building and some really good elements. The end is a little... I got some issues with it, but whatever. The stuff with Fisk is all-time low bad. It's all-time low bad, and you're just left wondering, like, what is the plan? Is there a plan, or are you just running by the seat of your pants? Because I don't get this.
Yeah. That's just terrible.
Yeah.
Well,
so, episode 3, not bad.
Not bad, not great.
Not great. I mean, like...
and poor timing for me. You know, I feel bad for the actor that played White Tiger. It died in real life.
Oh, did he really?
He did. That's why in the beginning of the 2nd episode, there is the in memory of. And it's that actor. And when he got killed at the end, I said to Audrey, I'm like, oh, good thing that was written into the script. And I felt bad saying it, but it's like, he was such a great character.
He was a great presence.
I kind of wish that, well, I wish he was still alive, but I wish his character was something that maybe would, since you don't want to bring Spider-Man into the show, have this guy.
If there is an actual vigilante problem in New York, you have so many street levels that you could pick from.
Oh, absolutely.
I would give you Speedball. I would give you Night
Speedball's
Thrasher.
fucking awesome.
Okay, I would give you Night Thrasher. That's where we're at. All right? I would give you so many options. And you're like, pick a new warrior. I'd take them. I'll give you Sleepwalker. That's how hard up we are, okay? I'll give you Sleepwalker.
Well, like, here's a great opportunity to either have any of those characters. You can redo, I know there was that terrible TV show, Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah.
They're in New York. You can introduce, hey, how about this? You could introduce the character of Miles Morales.
Yeah.
And his version of Spider-Man in this.
Yeah. Why not? Why not?
Why not, man?
I will say, while we're on Spider-Man for the hottest second, did you see the Spider-Man news from the last week and a half?
Possibly. I'm trying to remember.
Sadie Sink has been cast in an unknown role in Spider-Man 4.
Yes.
And there is lots of talk as to who she will be playing. Some people are saying Gwen Stacy, but as Spider-Gwen specifically. Dude. Some people are saying Mary Jane. I got a different idea that I think is way better.
What's that?
Firestar. We need mutants.
Yeah.
We need mutants.
But, like, I could kind of see her doing the... I mean, you have
Mary Jane
a very attractive redhead.
Yeah.
That's Mary Jane Watson.
It makes
She's
sense.
a fucking supermodel in the comic books.
It makes sense. I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. I'm saying you got to be ready because you created a minefield over here. It's a mess. I still haven't gotten over the fact that Norman Osborn said he Googled himself and there's no Norman Osborn in this universe.
Yeah, like how you can't recover from that.
You can't recover from that, man.
No.
That's you gave yourself the worst handicap of all time.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this?
Oh my God.
I cannot understand this approach.
Well, and I kind of wish they would have just folded up this Spider-Man and like.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like that's why I say go for Firestar. Don't do MJ. Because unless I'm doing it, I'm going to say, Marvel, that ship has sailed.
Yeah.
If you want to hire me to bring MJ back into the universe, I can do that for you. I don't trust anybody in your house to do that.
Yeah.
Do Firestar. You need mutants. You can do Firestar and Iceman. It'll be fucking great. It'll be funny and entertaining. Sadie Sink's acting and personality styles match Firestar really, really well. Yep. This would be interesting. You wouldn't have to deal with all the Mary Jane stuff.
See, Marvel right now is in the kind of same phase that DC was in, where they need to just say Captain America Brave New World was the final MCU movie of this version of the MCU. We're rebooting it with Fantastic Four and the X-Men, and then reintroducing all these characters again, including Spider-Man, and we're doing them properly.
Well, so they are and they aren't doing that.
Well, that's what I mean. They're not doing it.
To anybody who doesn't know, listen for the term incursion events in Marvel movies for the next 5 years. Because this is why Robert Downey Jr. is going to be Doctor Doom, and why Chris Evans is coming back as rumored to be the Hydra, the pro-Hydra Captain America that everybody hated. I want to emphasize, nobody wanted that.
Yeah.
Nobody was happy when it happened, and it hasn't aged well. So, why?
Especially... You have quite literally, I'm sorry, my all-time favorite character of this MCU is Chris Evans, Captain America. And you're going to take your top two most loved superheroes, being Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr., and Captain America, Chris Evans, you're going to bring them back as bad guys.
As the evils, as the big bad.
That is so fucking stupid.
You're going to make...
It's so dumb.
You're going to make Chris Evans a Nazi?
Yeah.
Why?
After his lovely send-off at the end of Endgame with, riding off in the sunset with the love of his life.
Last I checked, Steve Rogers doesn't have a fucking Cybertruck.
No.
So he can't be a Nazi.
No. Stupid haircut either.
No. None of it. So I look at all of Marvel's upcoming plans and how people are getting hyped. They're like, oh, there's a new Spider-Man coming out next year. Don't get excited.
Nope.
Avengers Doom or whatever they're calling it. That's coming. It's going to be bad, guys.
It's going to be terrible.
It's going to be bad. Point to one Marvel movie in the last 5 years that didn't have massive problems.
And we're not counting Deadpool and Wolverine.
No, that does not count.
That
wasn't you.
Does not count.
You don't get to sign those papers. I barely want to give you credit for No Way Home, because in No Way Home you built off of 20 years of Spider-Man movie lore to make that movie happen. And you weren't even the first ones to do it. Because Into the Spider-Verse had already had 2 movies come out that did it first.
And did it so much better.
So, the quote-unquote best of your movies, they were made by different studios.
Yep.
Let's not mince words. They were made by different studios. Even if you had imparts or whatever you want to say, still made by different studios. Yeah.
And one of them was fucking Sony, who's known for making the shittiest
superhero movies.
And they made 2 of the best ones.
This is why I'm saying nobody gets credit for that.
Yes.
That movie is pure nostalgia base.
Yes.
There is nothing to this movie outside of nostalgia. If you don't have nostalgia for 2 of the 3 Spider-Men, you'll walk out of that movie being like, that was weird and confusing, and I guess it was fine.
Yeah.
I don't like this part, and 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 I don't like this part. But that's every Marvel movie now.
Yeah.
As you walk out, and you're like, I guess that was fine, except for this, and that, and this, and that. Ooh, and that. I forgot about that. And that.
I'm so terrified to see Brave New World.
I am very worried about Brave New World.
I'm so terrified. I mean, it's already bombed. It's it bombed quite
hard.
Literally a bomb.
It bombed hard. It bombed so hard I feel bad for Anthony Mackie.
Yes,
that's how badly it bombed.
I do too, because I love Anthony Mackie.
He does not deserve this. He was waiting so long to be Captain America, to get the mantle, to get the shield, to finally have a movie that was his movie. Yes. And then it just fucking bombs.
They did to him what they did to Scarlett Johansson with Black Widow. They're like, yeah, you get your own movie, and it's going to suck.
As soon as it's trash.
Yes.
Once we're just making everything out of trash, because that's our standard now. It's just trash.
I can't like I'm so depressed. I've been watching so many older movies lately.
Yeah.
And just loving and drowning in not only the nostalgia, but the quality. Even movies who are cheesy. I told you I watched the Mortal Kombat, the 95 movie with my son. Man, there's some cheesy moments in that, but goddamn, there's some great set pieces in that movie. And that was a very low budget kind of shit movie that only had one really named actor at that time, and that was Christopher Lambert as Raiden, Lord
Why
Raiden.
Are you Raiden?
But it's like, that's the only named actor really in that movie, and it was so low budget, but man, it had better set pieces in that movie than most Marvel movies that have come out.
Well, we were just watching The Fugitive.
Oh, nice.
Because it was St. Patrick's Day.
Uh-huh.
If you don't know, The Fugitive takes place around St. Patrick's Day weekend.
Yep. Green River.
I was so taken with that movie because A, it does have that nostalgic charm, but B, it's just the filmmaking is just better.
Yeah.
The filmmaking is just better than what you see these days. The going through the breakdowns of how they did the scene where the train runs over the bus. Mm-hmm. They had a tenth of the technology, and they had to do it in really creative ways. Mm-hmm. And it looks so much better than Floating Head A and Floating Head B and Floating Head C in this Marvel movie.
Yep.
Because that's all it is now. It's all floating heads. Even fucking Captain America has a full face mask now. Mm. When did this become a thing?
I don't get it.
Because if you don't know, that's one of the things people hate about Spider-Man, is that he has a full face mask. Mm. They trust Captain America because they know who he is. They trust Hawkeye because even though he wears a mask, they have the Avengers vouch for him.
Yeah.
They don't know anything about Spider-Man. So, like, by that measure, sure, there's a new Captain America, but it feels like you're trying to hide who he is. And it's not like Sam Wilson is some schmuck.
Yeah.
You know?
And there's quite literally only been one African-American Avenger, and it was the same guy, so I think we know who it is.
Well, two, because of Rhodey.
Oh, true. I forgot Rhodey was technically an Avenger.
Technically an Avenger.
That's right.
Treated not of the Avengers,
no,
but
not
technically
of.
an Avenger.
That's why I always forget sometimes that he was actually.
Yeah. Marvel, I haven't forgotten. When did Rhodey Skrull take over?
Oh, yeah. We still haven't heard that.
Nobody has told us.
And is real Rhodey...
Real Rhodey's alive.
That's right.
And presumably paralyzed from the waist down. So the Skrull took over sometime after Civil War. But there's also the argument to be made that Rhodey was in there for years. His muscles will have atrophied. Maybe he just can't walk and he's just being carried because he can't walk because he's been in the cell for years. So, none of that though, because that's interesting, Steve. That prompts thought. Marvel doesn't want you thinking.
No.
Marvel wants you just breathing in their fumes and just being like, yes, thank you. This dinner is delicious. I love these fumes. That's wonderful. It's a wonderful meal you've prepared.
Yeah, so Daredevil sucks.
So Daredevil is I want it to be good. I want it to be good so bad. But with some of the decisions they're making, it's impossible for it to be good.
Yeah, and that's sad.
Yeah.
And that is sad. All right, so we need to move on. We need to get to the topic that we've been desperate to talk about since our rebirth a couple episodes ago. So last year on Christmas... a movie was released, which is a remake of a 1922 silent film classic called Nosferatu, which is the very first Dracula movie, very first real horror movie. I think there might have been one silent film before that, but big...
Like, you can... I can't remember the name of it, but there's a demon movie.
Yeah, something like that.
A demon German movie.
But that's, like, even more obscure. So this is... The filmmakers for the 1922 original wanted to make Bram Stoker's Dracula, could not get the rights, so they did everything in their power to make a movie that's almost exactly the same thing, but just a little bit different. Yeah. And it worked, because I honestly, if I have to take the original Dracula and the original Nosferatu, I take the original Nosferatu.
The original Nosferatu is creepy.
It's creepy as shit.
There's something about silent films, and Muybridge silent films in particular, who directed it, where it's like that and Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, and I don't think he made The Man Who Laughs, but that too.
Oh God,
there's
that
something
is
about
terrifying.
it. It's just scary.
Which The Man Who Laughs is where we got the Joker from. That's the inspiration for.
It's just, but there's just something about it. I can't tell if it's a cinematography, the nature of it being a bunch of ghosts telling you a story, or what. But some of those old movies are creepy.
But then also, Max Schreck, he was one of your first like real method actors, and so he kind of became this vampire Count Orlok, and freaked people out to the point that they made Shadow of the Vampire the spin-off sequel, I'm doing quotation fingers, starring Willem Dafoe and John Malkovich, where Dafoe played Orlok, and he also was playing the actor, once again, quotation fingers, of Max Schreck, but Max Schreck was really a vampire. Yeah. And it's like, that's how good Max Schreck was when they made the original, is he freaked people out and they thought he was a real vampire.
Yeah.
So now, this latest iteration was made, once again, it was came out the 25th, I think it came out on Christmas, right? Directed by Robert Eggers, who we love, who did Lighthouse, The Witch, Northman, great director. Makes very poignant indie-like movies.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you can consider the Northman and Nosferatu indies because they kind of were a little bit more mainstream.
They cross the line, but I would still say that they're not blockbusters.
No, not at all.
So I think that they might be more mainstream, but they still wouldn't be considered like a blockbuster. I
would put them more in like a Tarantino range.
Yeah.
Where his movies do great, but they're never like make $1 billion type of thing. So he remade the movie with all of his, awesome camera angles and little touches with lighting and everything, and it is a visually spectacular movie.
Great visual movie.
Love the movie. Lily Depp Rose plays Ellen Hunter, who is their version of Mina Harker. Nicholas Hoult plays Thomas Hunter, who is their version of Jonathan Harker. Mm-hmm. So your Keanu Reeves, let's call him.
Yes.
And then Bill Skarsgård plays Count Orlok with an awesome mustache.
And a giant dick. Just a huge swinging dick.
The first time I watched it, I gotta be honest, I love the movie. Totally love the movie. I love the tone. I love everything about the movie. I didn't know how I felt about Lily Depp Rose.
See, I would disagree with you.
But I saw it the second time.
Yeah.
It landed more.
Yeah.
Not as much like, I think I always was captivated by her body language and her facial expressions.
Yeah.
It was some of her line delivery that I was a little, kind of the same thing with Aaron Taylor Johnson, who plays Frederick Harding. Mm-hmm. And his, like, I didn't necessarily buy him the first time I watched it. He kind of seemed young for the part. Mm. But now I watch it the second time, I'm like, okay, I can see it is a younger looking cast, even though they're all in their 30s now. So, but it's, like back when this is supposed to take place, people in their 30s look like they were in their 70s.
Yeah.
So that was
that was what was tripping you up.
Exactly. That was bothering me. The second time around, I definitely, she grew more on me.
Yeah.
As far as her line delivery.
See, she won me in the scene where she's talking about her dream to Nicholas Hoult before he leaves.
Yes.
And he's like, I gotta go. And she's like, I have to tell you about this dream. And she has this breakdown where she's talking about marrying death and how she's so happy. And she turns around and everybody in her life is dead. Scene. And she's so happy. And she's just going back and forth between weeping and laughing.
Yeah.
And weeping and laughing. And it's so good. She's incredible in that moment. I agree with you. Some of the moments were like, but like any moment where she has to be possessed or anything, she is captivating.
She is very good in that.
And she drives the end of that movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, incredibly.
She absolutely drives. And it's funny because you're watching her in some of these scenes and you're like, if she doesn't buy into the blockbuster, she will be her dad in his early movies.
Yeah.
Where he made these, like, art house
Gilbert
indie...
Grape.
Oh, Gilbert Grape, Chocolat, all these great... Ed Wood.
Crybaby.
He made all of these fantastic... but, like, even the one with the Proclaimer song from, the Benny and June, where he's, like, the silent Charlie Chaplin-like character. This is what her performance... I'm like, I got excited because I hope we get her in more of these type of movies. It's like, listen... Don't just turn her into like a sex object, because what I loved about this is even the parts of this movie that she was naked in, they were not.
There's nothing sexy about
scenes,
sex
no. And so I'm like, dude, that is how you do nudity in a movie like this. It's not gratuitous.
This is like, there's so many moments that are very sexually flavored.
Yes.
And not just necessarily like, oh, this woman has her clothes off. The scene where Orlok is on Nicholas Hoult.
Yes.
That is sexual.
Yeah.
He is fucking him.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way you can't see him as fucking Nick Hoult.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating and it's creepy and it's really like there's a quiet darkness to it. But every time you notice it, it's like a Doctor Who monster. You can't notice it until you notice it, and then once you notice it, you're like, oh, shit.
And that's what I appreciated about, like, I'm glad you brought up that scene. That's what I appreciated about this Orlok, is you look, like, if I look at a vampire, especially one like him who's been around for quite literally probably thousands of years.
He's rotting. He's so old.
And he, you know, they always created, from early on, a vampire as kind of like a sexual being.
Yeah.
Someone his age, he's not going to be gay or straight or anything. He's going to be passionate about the drinking of the blood.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's where he gets his release, and it will be like a sexual release.
Yeah.
And that's where I was like, dude, that was kind of awesome how he did that.
Yeah. No,
and it was really
blew
my, and that is pure filmmaking genius right there.
Well, like, the whole thing has so many elements like that. The way that Orlok moves in shadow.
Oh my God.
Where, you know, Lily Rose Depp will be having a conversation with no one. And then you'll see the window blow, and as the window blows, the shadow goes over the drape.
Yes.
And it's just only as the window blows fully open. It's like, this is incredible. The shot of the hand over the village. Oh. Come on.
So and honestly, the part that I loved about that is it took... Now, for years, I was a fan of Bram Stoker's Dracula. Mainly because of Gary Oldman. And I watch it now, and I'll be like, I'm mainly a fan because of Gary Oldman. Like, the rest of it... It's not the best, but they were the one that really introduced the whole shadow thing with this kind of story. I think Eggers took it and said, I'm going to take that, I'm going to make it better and
even
creepier.
Better. Yeah.
And he fucking did.
Yeah.
And you're right, it was so good.
And like when you get the Van Helsing, I like this.
Dude.
Like, first off, that
and
it's Willem
Dafoe
again, coming
so
back
good.
and doing another Nosferatu.
So good.
But I love that scene where Galactus, the one who will be Galactus,
Ralph Innes,
takes, is it Aaron Taylor Johnson he takes to Willem Dafoe?
Yes.
And Willem Dafoe is in like this weird state where he's responsive, but he's clearly not. He's talking about spells and transmutation and other things. And the doctor comes up and kind of says the magic words. And he's like, oh, my dear blah, blah, blah. And he's like giving her hugs and is like, I love him. He's so good in this movie. When he gets into her room and he looks at her and he's like, why is this child tied down? And then it's like, the presence he brings is so good.
I love Willem Dafoe. You and asked my friends, but going back to the early days, any movie he's in, I just love Willem Dafoe so much. And he's so great.
He's so great. And I love that, you know, like we've seen Van Helsings before, but they are monster hunters in the sense of like, I have figured out how to fight the monster. Mm-hmm. This seems like a guy who is just extremely learned.
Yes.
To the point where he believes in alchemy because he's trying to figure out how to make it work, and he's probably seen it work in some capacity. Mm-hmm. And so just that flavor of coming in not as like I know how to fight this monster, but like I'm going to use my intelligence and my ability to observe and problem solve. And it's not just like, oh, you got to have the garlic and you got to have the steak and you got to do this. And no, he's looking at it and he's analyzing it, and everybody's like, oh, you don't do that. And he's like, no. Let her do it. Let her do it. No more ether. Don't drug her. Get all this stuff. We're not doing it. We're not doing any of this stuff. And I really liked that whole approach to things. I thought it was really clever, but also it took, Marvel can take notes here because it adds a levity without diminishing the seriousness. You know?
Yes.
There is a sense of this character is a little weird and a little out there and definitely a different flavor from everybody else you've seen in the movie.
Yeah.
And because of that, he almost gives you this break from everything happening in the movie where like he shows up and you're like, okay, I feel safe for two reasons now. One, there's an adult in the room, but also two, he doesn't have this moroseness that everybody else is carrying around in this movie. So while we're watching Nick Holt be just drugged and poisoned and tortured and attacked and vaguely raped at Orlok's castle, you're introduced to Willem Dafoe and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, take a breath.
At least
and what's funny is once again, he took what Anthony Hopkins did in Bram Stoker's Dracula and made it better because he didn't make it as scene-chewing and kind of campy as Hopkins did.
Yeah.
But he did the exact same thing where he's like, okay, I feel comfortable that this guy's here type of deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was very impressed. It does follow the line. So you do have a sense of what's happening.
Yes.
And you feel a little superior to the characters in the movie. Because when Orlok comes to town and Aaron Taylor Johnson's girls are screaming, you're like, this is going to get bad so fast.
So fast, yes.
So fast.
Yes.
Like, hang on, because it's not just the girls.
Yes.
It's going to go so fast.
Yeah.
And it's such a great feeling as an audience member to be like, oh, you don't have to just worry about the girls. Like, let's start with the girls. Definitely start with the girls, but we got big problems now.
Well, Edgar's ability to just drip dread in his scenes, going back to The Witch, where you're like, oh my God, the tone of this.
Where it's just like a joke becomes this toxic evil.
Yeah.
Where she just says a joke about her being a witch and she's going to get her sister, and suddenly everything comes undone.
Yeah.
And you're just shocked
at
how fast this devolved.
It's truly... And I got to admit, my favorite part of this movie, and I don't know if I'm just privy to this character, so if you go back to the original Dracula, 1931 Dracula, Dwight Fry's Renfield is by far... Not only does he have the best scene in the movie where he's slowly crawling towards Mina, who had passed out on the floor, and it's one of the creepiest silent things you've ever seen. I think his performance is the best in that movie. And in this movie, Simon McBurney plays Knock, who is that version of Renfield.
Jesus Christ.
So fucking out of his mind.
When Nick Holt shows up in his office.
Oh my God.
And you're like, this guy's weird, but like not bad, but definitely weird. And then you see him naked, drawing a pentagram on the ground, and you're like, oh.
And then he's in the asylum, and you're like, oh, this guy's gone.
And then I had to tell Kelly when she could look again after the pigeon landed in his hands. Because, oh my God, Jesus Christ.
I mean, it's one of the creepiest depictions of any character I've ever seen in my life. And it was so brilliant.
When he's singing as he rows down the river with the coffin to the estate. Jesus Christ.
Dude.
This
so
is scary.
Fucking good.
This is creepy and bad, and I love it, but I don't like it.
That man, for that performance alone, deserves an Oscar.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And it's like, unfortunately, this movie got no consideration.
No.
And it's like, how? I understand it's a horror movie.
Yeah.
It wasn't gory.
Well, they already had their horror movie with The Substance. You can't have two of the same genre, true. Steve.
One's body horror. This is like, but like, this is art house horror. I'm like, dude, this is everything you should want. And the performances are so great. But his performance, once again, Simon McBurney, which I know I've seen him in a million things, and going back to look, The Last King of Scotland, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, Jane Eyre. Yeah, so he's been in a million things.
He's an English character actor.
Yeah, and one that you've seen in movies, I guarantee you. He's so fucking good at this.
No, I was very taken with this movie. The only real complaint I had was that I again, knowing the story and seeing iterations of it, seeing this voyage of the Demeter after watching last year's voyage of the Demeter, so fucking cool.
Yeah.
Made you feel so like in the story and be like, I know this, I know what's going on. I do feel like someone should point out there's not a lot of bodies of water between the Carpathian Mountains and Germany.
Yeah.
When he sails across the ocean, and the other ones, it's because he has to cross the English Channel. I don't know where he's sailing.
Yeah, I don't know
guess
either.
That's my only thing. I'm not sure where he's sailing.
That was a little vague.
So like that was literally my only thing. Yeah. The plague rats, when the plague rats show up, you're just like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got like 9 million problems now. oh, this is terrible. And I was so taken with the entire movie.
It's definitely, and there's very few films that I put into this pantheon, but it will become a yearly watch for me.
Yeah.
Especially during the Halloween
season.
And I quite possibly, and I love fucking vampires. Maybe not as much as werewolves, but I love vampires.
You love fucking vampires?
Yes. I not one of them has bit me yet.
See, you're lucky, because I hear that they're into that kind of
kink I know,
shit.
they're kind of into that kink stuff. I think this might be my favorite vampire movie now.
Oh, yeah?
There was a high list. 30 Days a Night was up there, and the original Dracula. I still love that movie. A lot of the Hammer movies. This might be my favorite vampire movie.
This is definitely the one that has sat the most with me afterwards. Yeah. Where it wasn't even 30 Days of Night. I like it in concept, but some of the executional elements of it, I'm like, I wish you had done more of this or done less of this. I love Danny Houston. Don't cast Danny Houston in this role. He is not the right physical type. His face doesn't look right. He's not menacing enough for this. He's a little too...
I wonder if that was a budget thing, though. It's like, we need to get an actor, someone with gravitas. The best we could do is Danny Houston.
I find someone else.
Yeah.
I guess
I could see that.
But again, overall, not huge things, but it just never really was one of those things where it's like, that's fascinating and I want to watch it again.
Yeah.
This, because there's so many elements of artistry and directing and acting. I was watching it again last night, and it's just like, man, this movie has so much to it. Also, how terrifying is it, the idea of waking up in a unfamiliar space and you're immediately chased by wolves?
Yeah.
You haven't even gotten out of bed.
That's fucking
You're woken up by the wolves coming in the door.
That's so fucking awesome.
It's awful.
Yeah, it is pretty terrible. So I would say, I think it's time that Bill Skarsgård needs to be put up in the pantheon of horror movie actors like Robert Englund and Kane Hodder, who played Jason in a lot of the more popular movies. As now that he's pulled off Pennywise and Orlok so well, he's got to be up there, man.
I mean, he was already definitely in the conversation
with just Pennywise,
in terms of modern villains with Pennywise, specifically for one. Less so for two, but that's not his fault.
Yeah, it's not his fault.
There's really
the second half of that book has always been the weaker
there's
part.
There's incredibly little you can do to make the second half of that book better. This is just doubling down.
Yeah.
The thing that I really hope for is that this gives him more cachet just in general.
Yeah.
Because I still want to see Boy vs. World, which looked good. And I love H. Walter Benjamin, but and I get that that's the appeal of the movie. Bill Skarsgård doesn't get to talk in that movie.
No.
I just don't feel like he gets a lot of mainstream stuff.
His brother does.
Yeah. Well, his brother's very handsome.
He is, and he's ripped, and he's Tarzan, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, exactly.
But now they've both made a movie in sequence with Eggers, because he was in Northman. He played the lead. And I don't think enough is made of the Skarsgård family as Hollywood royalty.
Yeah.
They all make great movies. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Oh, and they can show up anywhere and do well.
Yeah.
So you see them.
They all just seem to be character actors, except for Skellen. He's the leading man, but all the rest are character actors. Pretty much.
You look at Alexander in particular. You look at him. I didn't see his Tarzan, but it didn't look bad.
Or Alexander Skarsgård. I kept calling him Skellen. It's Alexander Skarsgård. Skellen's the father.
I didn't see his Tarzan, but it didn't look bad.
No.
He's been pretty good in everything I've seen him in. But then he'll show up in fucking Zoolander.
Dude! But that was one of the best scenes
and
in Zoolander.
He'll show up in Long Shot with Charlize Theron playing the German PM, or the Canadian PM. And he's so funny.
Yeah.
And he's so charming. And Bill Skarsgård can do the same thing. He shows up in Deadpool 2, and you're like, fuck yes!
That's right.
Fuck yes! This is going to be great. And then he has his exit, and you're like, that was awesome. I love this. Yeah. This is awesome. I wish I had more of him. But I want to see Bill Skarsgård in more, and I want to see him be given more things to do.
Well, I want him to be given more films in this, not in this genre, but in this price range. I don't want him to get lost in the big budget.
No, he doesn't need to go out and have a Netflix deal.
No, he needs to do some solid independent films, kind of like what Colin Farrell. I know he did The Penguin and all that, but if you look at before that, it was the Was it the Ghost of Inisherin, the Irish movie? And then before that, he did was it The Lobster? I think was that other one.
He also did The
he's
Lobster.
doing all these great indie films.
Yeah.
The Gentleman is still technically an indie film,
Yeah.
and he has one of the best roles in that fucking movie.
Yeah, he just bounces back and forth. Sometimes he does big stuff, sometimes he does small stuff.
But he does, and I hope he gets these leading roles in these smaller movies because his acting's so good. I don't want to just see him behind prosthetics. I know that's kind of what he's done in the 2 horror movies, but less prosthetics than I thought of in Pennywise. It was mainly just him creating that smile, which still freaks me out.
And then the big weird thing on his head.
Yeah, the big bald cap. But I hope he gets more. But yeah, this movie itself, this is now a director where I can't wait to see what he does next.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. I really love, every 10 years or so you get a new crew of directors, and you're like, oh, it's so great that so-and-so. So Alex Garland for a little while there was in that camp when he did Dread, and he did Ex Machina, and he did Annihilation. I was like, fuck yeah, Alex Garland, I want to see what he does next. And then he did Civil War, and I was like, I'm less interested in this.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I do want to see what Robert Eggers can do. I want to see what everybody can do in this, but I agree with you. Maybe one blockbuster every 2 years to keep your face in the zeitgeist. But
which is funny because that was Skarsgård's name.
But I also think that they are a great crop of actors.
Yeah.
I kind of want them to have Nicholas Holt's career in a lot of ways, where he was in X-Men, but he was also in The Menu.
Yeah.
He kind of bounces back and forth between doing big work and also doing smaller work. And man, he's also good in this.
Oh, he's so good.
Let this always be a lesson to everybody. Never sign a contract you can't read. Just don't do it.
Yep.
Don't ever sign anything you can't read.
Yep.
Either because you don't have time or because it's in a language that you don't speak. Don't sign it. Even if your boss is like, do it right now. Don't do it.
Yeah, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Anyways, folks, that was Nosferatu. We really hope you enjoyed that. And we hope you enjoyed the show because that's the end of the show for this week.
What's your grade?
Sorry. I give Nosferatu, I'm going to give it a solid A. I don't know if I'm going to go A+. I love it. It takes a lot for me to give an A+.
Yeah.
But it is a solid A that's a smidge away from an A+.
This is a solid A for me as well. I would go so far as to say that at the right price point, this will make its way into the Pantheon.
Oh, I believe so.
Into the digital Pantheon.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's not necessarily something I'm going to run out and buy at full price. But if it drops down under 10... I'm not saying I'm
well, I do own it digitally, but I think this might make it into my hard copy Pantheon. Which, today, I just got in the mail before I came here, the Steelbook 4K version of Army of Darkness. Which, that is a Pantheon movie right there. With the director's cut ending, which is awesome, and I love that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
is that the one
folks,
where he goes back to the Y-Mart or whatever it is, the L-Mart?
Shop Smart. Shop S-Mart.
Yes.
Well, so this is our last tangent of the show. So the movie Army of Darkness, in the beginning, Ash Williams, a.k.a. Bruce Campbell, is working in a Walmart-like store in the sporting goods department. And he goes on this adventure where he goes back in time. And at the end of the theatrical cut, he's back at S-Mart. And he's back at his old job when a demon comes and he has to shoot the demon and kill it. And then he does Hail to the King at the end, baby. In the director's cut, since he says the words incorrectly, he's in a coma for hundreds of years. And he wakes up. And since he said it wrong, the Deadites took over the world, and he's in a post-apocalyptic America.
See, that's a way better ending.
And he does the classic Bruce Campbell scream when he walks out of the cave, and he's got a long gray beard, and it's nuts.
That's a way better ending.
It's tough because I love the original ending just because it's so hammy.
Yeah.
And he rips off his outfit, and he has the Ash outfit on underneath, and grabs the woman and says "Hail to the King, baby," and kisses her. That's just awesome. But yeah, this other one, it was too dark.
Yeah.
In the test screenings, and that's why they had to change it.
See, but that's what these movies always need.
Yeah.
Because that's my problem with Army, not to continue a tangent, that's my only issue with Army of Darkness. I think it's really fun. It gets so campy.
It gets
about
so
halfway
campy.
through, once you get the little mini Bruce Campbells and then the evil version of Bruce, it gets so up its own ass after a while, and you're just like, I just need a little bit of seriousness to weigh everything
See,
down.
it is, but man, he's so funny as the evil Bruce Campbell, and then with the little ones when he's doing the London bridges falling down, and dude, that's so fucking funny. And which Ghostbusters Afterlife obviously took from that with the Stay Puft Marshmallow.
With the little Stay Puffs.
All right, folks. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode 155. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I needed this. It's been a weird couple weeks, so I'm glad we were able to get this in.
That sinus monster finally crawled out of your face.
I don't even want to talk about it. Next week, we still don't know what we're going to talk about. We're obviously going to be talking about a couple episodes of Daredevil. We will let you know about whatever our topic's going to be.
Very likely that it's going to be Kraven the Hunter.
Yes.
I'm going to say this up top because you just watched it.
Yes.
You told me I need to watch it.
Yes.
And if I'm going to torture myself, the only reason I'm doing it is for you people. So you better goddamn come back next week.
I agree.
So my pain and agony is not for the amusement solely of my wife.
Yes. So, amusement of your wife or torture of your wife?
Amusement of my wife?
Yeah, there you go. I like that. I'm using a little thesaurus right here. I think the whole neighborhood will hear. Well, anyways, folks, this has been NerdPod Generations, episode 155. We really hope you enjoyed it. Please make sure to go to our website, nerdpodgen.com. Look up on everything about us. Go back and listen to the past episodes. And then also enjoy our lovely artwork. And now, who does our artwork and music?
Our artwork is by Kortney Howell. Our music is by Brendan Williams and James Connolly. I heard that Kraven is actually a really good brother to Dimitri, which makes me very concerned. I'm Alfred Judson.
And I'm Steve Taylor.
We'll see you next week, friends and enemies.
Peace out.
For the deep and abiding burn on my soul that will be Kraven the Hunter.
I can't wait.